Or, oh, even better yet, Miami Vice. Jan Hammer. I'm gonna finish this. What's up, people? All right, today I want to drive this 944. No more BS. Some goofing around, but mostly I've got to concentrate. So right now, the timing belts and everything are on. I'm going to be very careful and methodical. 2, 1, check the tension and make sure that's perfect. I will make mention of it coming up because I know you guys are going to be very interested, but also when it's on and I rotate, make sure everything is still timed correctly and the clearance is right, I am going to double and triple check every single bolt on here possible to know that 1, yes, it's timed properly. 2, everything is torqued the way it needs to be. There's nothing loose. There's no weird pulleys out of play. And then 3, that all the alignments are proper, that all the pulleys are exactly where they need to be and nothing odd is going to happen. And obviously you turn it over to make sure everything is still timed properly. And if there's any resistance, you do it gentle. You do it with a wrench in case you screwed it up and something starts to collide. The other things I'm going to do today is I'm going to put on new O-rings to the injectors. Not a big deal, but want to make sure that that's happy. Get the air filter in, change the oil, you know, the basics that I think you guys can do well and get through this video so it's entertaining and fun. You guys can see what happens. And mostly I want to drive it and see how it's going to be. I think it's going to be great. Now, as a note, I'm going to make the belts, you know, tension properly, but just on maybe slightly tighter than I normally would. Maybe not. But I will be checking it again. Now, when you check them, it's relatively easy. You can just remove the top half of the plastic cover and then get in there to recheck it. So it's actually reasonable to do. You start it up, you run it, you let it heat cycle a little bit. You check it immediately to see if it's within the you know, kind of specs or within the realm of reason. And then, of course, you check it once or twice after that. But generally, it's going to be good to go and happy. Beyond that, I did want to say thank you to a nice fan out there who sent me some great things for my Super 80s journey about to happen. This is a neat book that goes back to pre-war racing times of the Prince Chula of Thailand, which I believe was related to Prince Bira Bongzi, something like that, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the same guy that was represented in the movie The King and I. I could be wrong. But cool, and I'm looking forward to it. And this particular gentleman also sent me, yes, awesome 80s cassette tapes that will be a lot of fun, but you guys won't be able to listen to because it's copyrighted. I don't even know if you can see the words Bananarama or George Michael or AC/DC or Wham! Or, oh, even better yet, Miami Vice. Jan Hammer. I'm going to finish this. I want to listen to these. Let's go. You sure you got that thing on? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, you guys. Okay.
Oh yeah? You guys?
So, someone's gonna say, Casey, wait a minute. You're talking about Porsche snobs and air-cooled snobs, and we're gonna 944, and you have on an air-cooled racing t-shirt. What's up with that? You're one of them. You're a snob. No, I'm not a snob. I am being the change I want to see in the world, because even though I prefer water-cooled, I still enjoy that air-cooled Porsches exist. That's totally not working. Get in there. Get in there. Okay. Pay attention, dingus. You're not that smart. You're not creating social change talking about car geeks. I know. I know. It's a car show. What do you mean? I'm excited. This is almost a thing. I can almost drive it. Yes. But in all honesty, putting this last stuff on and doing, I kind of just wanted to go through the hooms. Damn it. I heard it hit the floor. Yes. Damn it. All right, you guys, so I want to talk about the tension of belts and such. Obviously, the multi-rib belt is totally loose, but I did find the bolt to properly attach the air conditioning press on the bottom. So right now, if you watch this, come on up here from the top and look down. I'm going to go ahead and start doing this tie rod. Now, for anybody young out there, new mechanics, tie rods are supposed to have a left and right thread. So why don't you come on down here and have a look at this, what I'm doing. This is a non-standard part here, this tie rod, and it has a left and right thread. So when I go like this, it either shrinks or it expands. I have seen tie rods that are cheap, and this is fascinating. It's missing the innards or a sleeve right there. It'll still work though. Anyway, so this one, if I turn it, I can make it elongate and expand. And obviously it's got some flats to put your wrench on, but right now I don't need to be that big a freak in tightening it down. If you got a strong hand, you can tension your belt properly with that. So I'm going right there. Obviously, if an accessory belt like this comes off, it's not gonna hurt anything. Now, I will need to snug these up. These are jam nuts. They're very important to keep your adjustment right, and I'm gonna check these bolts so they don't come out. So that one's snug. So let's have a look at the timing belts here. Come on up. Now, I realize that anybody who's done this, and for all the people who haven't done it, you're all gonna have an opinion. So I'm just gonna go with what I'm doing, and we're gonna come back to this more. So remember, when you are doing this, it's important for you to make your best educated guess and watch it. One reason why I hate being a mechanic and just sending things out the door, which are complex and sometimes vintage machines, for frankly non-mechanically inclined idiots to drive that take it for granted. They don't know how to look at things, they don't know how to listen to things, and they can't look after it. So it becomes very stressful for a mechanic in that situation to get it right. And sometimes mechanics will go too far one way or the other because of it. But come here and look, and I'll show you what I got going on. Now, the cam lobe belts, spinning that lobe doesn't require quite as much effort as turning a camshaft, of course. This one I don't have crazy loose, okay? And also there's no spring tension on this. A camshaft has lobes and springs pushing on it. So sometimes you get a camshaft in a position where it is forcing one direction or the other. So for when you test the tension of your balance shaft belt here, you can kind of touch it anywhere. It's not going to have any pre-tension on one place or another because of a cam pulley trying to push it one way or the other. It's just going to be neutral. So right here, I adjusted this idler pulley just to push on it a little bit. Not a lot, just a little. So it's not going to be flopping all around and getting crazy. Now I can turn this 90 degrees without too much trouble. It gets harder. And I could turn it a lot more if I got really crazy. But in general, I can turn it 90 degrees without trying too hard. And I feel no dead spot. And what I mean by dead spot is, come here and look at this, and I'll try to illustrate this as best as possible. If I pull that really tight, well, this is gonna be hard to do. Here, I'll try to do it with my foot. If I pull that really tight, there's not much of a dead spot. You see what I mean? Like going back and forth. But if it's a little loose, it's gonna kind of go to here before it gets tight. Does that make sense what I mean about dead spot? So you want it to be sort of snug there without a dead spot. If you got a dead spot, it's a bit loose, but you also don't want it so tight that when this engine heats up, it's just like blazing tight. So right now, it's snug. Okay, it's nicely snug. It's not going anywhere. It's not gonna be flopping all around. If you revved it up warm, this might bounce a little bit, but it's not gonna go anywhere. So that's where I wanna start this. Obviously, I know I got everything tensioned down in terms of these nuts to hold it. This does not have an automatic adjuster for the tension. You have to set it. Now the cam belt is a little more, just a little more. There is some tension from pulling it here, and I can, you can't see it, but I can kind of feel it and bounce it. And you really can't turn it 90 degrees because there's not enough room to turn it 90 degrees. But I also have to check the tension over here. So it's got some good tension, okay? It's not loose, it's not flopping around. It's a little looser on this side because it doesn't have the pre-tension going on. And I can touch it down here. I've turned it over a couple of times. Each time, the timing marks all flawlessly aligned. Everything is spot on. Now, have a look here. You do want to turn this over reasonably slowly the first time, especially if you're nervous, you don't think you got it, so you don't incline valves. I wasn't that worried about it because they all lined up, so I kind of went a little faster. Because if you did have a problem and you felt a mechanical binding or a valve hitting, you could stop and redo everything, right? So I turned it over a number of times. Now keep in mind that the camshaft is not spinning as fast as the crankshaft. So If you turn over the crankshaft one full time, your camshaft is only going to be turned around half as much. So you got to go 2 full rotations for one of the camshaft. It's 4-stroke motor. Think about it for a second if you didn't know that already. Anyway, so when you do that, when you first put the timing belts on, if you tension it to that point, the likelihood of the belts being perfectly aligned, do you know what I mean, and not like slightly off center, is very low. And when you start turning an engine over by hand or starting it up or whatever, those belts are going to try to find their place of least resistance and be right in the middle. So if you tension them, let's say theoretically you tension them, and they're all right, and they seem okay, and you start it up, and then, so it spins a little bit, and then you stop it, and the engine didn't grow at all, they'll potentially be a little looser because they're going to find that. So that's something to pay attention. All this is snugged up. I will check all these bolts again. I've already checked all of them, including the pulleys. Everything's great. I got the ancillary belt on, although I'm an idiot because of the camera. This is how you get distracted, or with the friends. And this, I'm saying this right now, I am not being sexist. This is a historic accuracy. But there's a reason why, back in the olden days, they didn't let women on a sailing ship. It was a distraction for the men, and someone would die. And in this circumstance, the camera is distracting me, and I forgot to put the doggone plastic on, and now I can't do it. So I have to take the belt off. So here I go. How quickly can Casey do that? Oh, the internet's gonna lose their mind. Casey, you're a terrible person. You don't like women because you said a historical accuracy that they didn't let them on sailing ships because it would be a distraction to horny men from like 300 years ago. Well, it's true, man. My wife wasn't here the other day. She helped me. She is fantastic and helpful. And there are many talented ladies out there. Why, Casey, stop justifying yourself for the internet. Well, the internet's kind of all over the place, man. Okay, here we go. All right, so basically I'm just gonna get that in place and I'll snug it up in a minute. I wanna put my belt back on so I don't drop it. Da, 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 da. Anyway, that is the bit on belts. Let's keep going. It is, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. It is so much more difficult to be a decent mechanic while you are having to talk with somebody, be observed, let alone be on camera and be entertaining. I think what hit the floor was the washer. I have to find that. It's so much more difficult. That's why you see the signs with mechanics like, you know, $50 shop labor, $65 if you watch, $85 if you give advice, and like $100 if you, I don't know, supply your own parts. And that's a thing. Okay, so next scene, we'll come back to this.
No.
Bend over, snobs. Okay, so I am putting on new O-rings for all these injectors. When you take them out, they've been in there for a long time, so the technique I used was nicely, I put a handle here like this so I could get underneath it, guide it, and pop it out gently. If you try to pull it, you're likely to hurt it or even break something. The old O-rings, I just kind of slit and cut off, and then of course put the new ones on. The new O-rings, they're a little hard, they're not super soft, you gotta be careful of them, putting them in there, so I put just a little bit of lubricant on them, and then work them in there nicely. A little bit of a circular motion. Kind of one of those things where you just gotta hold your tongue right. You don't wanna pinch it, you don't wanna cut them, but obviously you gotta get them to get in there and seat, which sometimes can be frustrating. So you just gotta take your time, have a little bit of patience. And then of course have the clips in place. They're all real nice. Just make sure everything's good there. And still aligned well. Okay, so that's good. Get off there. All right, and I put the spark plug wires in place because we're gonna need those. Now I'm wondering if this is the time I want to put this down in there, or should I put that down first? Let's find out. What does it want? What do you want? Tell me your secrets. Okay, so something I do want to point out, I got the battery in, I'm gonna connect the electrical, and we're gonna start it! Which means I gotta monitor getting the coolant bled and everything good, and obviously I left the top casing off the timing belt so I can watch them. I turned it over so everything should be good, and I feel very confident that if I prime the fuel a couple times to get the fuel, we have no leaks, everything's good, I can crank it, she's gonna fire right up. But I do want to take a moment to say, obviously I've had a lot of fun with these videos and acting like a goofball. Anybody, especially young people that are thinking of doing this now, please do take it serious. Little tolerances matter. If you screw it up, you can completely destroy your engine. So, you know, in that circumstance, you'd have been better off paying somebody else to do it. But the purpose of these videos is I really want to empower everybody out there, whether you're young or old, looking to have an interesting car, that you are not turned off and afraid of working on it or assessing a situation or getting through it. These are just kind of the old school, good old values of, you know, having a toolbox, thinking about it, learning through, getting dirty, and doing a job well done. And that's what I'm most excited about right now in, you know, buttoning it up and about to start. I'm really looking forward to driving this. It's not like a 200-mile-an-hour supercar, but I think it's going to be a delightful car. And more than that, I'm going to take a lot of pride in ownership and driving in it because, of course, I got to be the guy that looks after it. And as another note too, you know, obviously I'm ragging on Porsche snobs and car people and price inflators and non-car guys. But there's a lot of good people out there too, and there's a lot of very talented mechanics, so I hope they enjoy this too. I still use mechanics here and there when I either don't have the right tools or facility for something, or I just don't have the right amount of time to do something. So this is not in any way negative towards everybody else out there. I'm just trying to empower everybody out there to get their hands dirty and enjoy some cars. So I gotta tighten this up. I'm gonna start it up. Come on, baby. Friendly cameraman, please yell at me if there's sparks or fuel spraying or something. You see the timing belts going here? The idler pulley I can make a touch tighter on the balance shaft belt. It's not moving real fast, but I like the way the cam belt is. Sounds good. Okay, I only stopped it because I'm going to open up the doors so we don't die. Because that's like smart. Bled all right. We're putting in coolant. I had the bleeder screw off real well. You do that trick where you put your finger, you squeeze it, put your finger over it, let go so it sucks it. You do that a bunch of times to make it happy. Starting to smoke a little from the residue that got on the headers. Everything seems okay. Alright you guys, so it runs and it runs very happily. I feel good about the belt, everything's tightened down. I'm going to do just a little tweak to the idler belt, a little bit floppy, but of course it's not at the temperature, so I'm going to let it warm up all the way. Make sure the coolant's getting through and it's bled properly. Make sure it's getting temperature in it. But otherwise I'm really happy, the oil pressure's great. I think the car is happy. The lifters don't sound like there's any issues whatsoever, so I'm pretty darn excited. I'm gonna get going because this place is filling with smoke and I should probably do something about it. In the meantime, please share this, and naturally I hope that you will like, comment, and please subscribe. Catch you later.